Welcome to the High Pressure Podcast with me, George Ratterman.
And me, Marie Williams. Brought to you by Reliably Ratterman.
Bringing you industry news and trends.
Plus, insightful conversations with industry leaders.
Let's get to today's show.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to a special series of episodes of the High Pressure Podcast. Here at Ratterman, one of our core values is bringing solutions to industries that are changing the world. So we wanted to do something with this podcast that would help to achieve that. Over the next few weeks and months, and who knows, maybe even longer, we'll be bringing you a weekly solution session. These are going to be much shorter episodes that dig deeper into specific problems or questions that our customers are experiencing. We're taking these calls directly from our help center. These are recorded calls that you will be hearing customers ask questions on, and then we will bring in an expert from Ratermann who will be answering those questions. We hope that this will help you with any similar problems you may be having. And if you have a question you want to put in the pot, please email us, marie@rmimfg.com, and we will put that in the mix. So let's get into our first solution session on hose fittings. For this, I've brought on our resident expert, Patrick Kirk. Hello, Patrick.
How you doing, Marie?
Good. Thanks for joining on a Friday. I know you'd normally take Fridays off.
Yes, I do. But for you, Marie, anything.
Thank you, Patrick. For those of you who have not worked with Patrick before, he is the hose guru of the industry. That's what I like to call him. He is the professor of hoses. And for those of you that have worked with him, you understand just how much knowledge Patrick has in this industry. All right, Patrick, are you ready to answer some questions from our customers?
Yes, let's hear the questions.
All right, let's get into today's call. Let's play the customer question.
Thank you for calling Ratterman Manufacturing. This is Heidi. How can I help you?
We have one of your hoses, and I think we have quite a few of them, actually. And we got a bunch of them are leaking, I guess. Or somewhere we noticed, like when a line will kind of bend in the armor, is dripping.
Oh, yeah, you got a leak. You definitely got a bent leak.
What we do is we take them and we fill a dewar.
Mm-hmm.
They're kind of getting like stretched all around, and they're getting stretched, like they'll be frosty, and then we'll put it to each dewar. So I guess that's probably not the best thing.
Exactly.
So I wanted to get some guidance, actually. How long do these hoses last?
All right. So that's the question. Let's dive into hose maintenance. There's a lot to unpack here, Patrick.
That's a big question.
Yes. How would we advise this customer?
All right. Well, first off, we deal with a lot of different hoses. So obviously, if we're talking about the hose that probably is the most used in a fill plant, it would be something like this. This is your standard 3,000 PSI maximum pressure hose that's designed for fill plants. It has Teflon in the center, stainless steel braiding around that, and then armor. In this particular application that the customer is calling about, he's filling liquid containers. And so he'd be using something similar to what I just showed you, but this is a liquid transfer hose. You got your CGA 295 fitting over here, armor, here's your collar. And something I want to make clear to everyone is every hose that you use, according to CGA guidelines, should be stamped with the manufacturer's name, date, and maximum pressure. So, going back to the question that he asked, on a hose like this, look at it. You have the braiding here. There's 2 to 4 layers of braiding, depending upon the pressure you're looking for. This part of the hose right here is corrugated stainless steel. So as you can see on a liquid transfer hose, problem with it is there's no way to really repair it. When someone tells me they have a leak on a liquid transfer hose, where it occurs is typically right here on the crown of the corrugation. And that happens when you put too much pressure through it or it gets bent beyond its bend radius. So to answer his question, on a hose like this, there is really no way to repair it in the field because this is called an all-metal hose. So if you have an all-metal hose, liquid transfer, it needs to be either sent back to the manufacturer or taken out of service. A hose like this with let me bring this one back, with Teflon in the center, typically what you'll see on something like this is the most common hose in a fill plant. I'd say 90% of the hoses in use are this same hose you're looking at right now. It has Teflon in the center versus corrugated stainless steel. So the Teflon does permeate, and we offer it in standard and post-centered. And basically, it's a great way to reduce permeation, which is the ability for the gas to escape out of the hose while under pressure. But to answer the question again, if it's an all-metal hose, it must be sent back to the factory and welded, or they'll look for the leak. And then if it's a pinhole or something like that, it can be re-welded. But on an all-metal hose, it needs to go back. On this type of hose, it depends on, this would be your fill plant hose. It depends on where the leak is. 90% of the time, it's down here on this end right here. All I would say is, from a maintenance standpoint, avoid over-bending the hoses. That's one of the biggest problems I see out there is people have a tendency to try to bend these things around tight corners. And what happens is it wears the hose out internally on that corner. So basically, for customers with leaks, I would recommend run your scenario by the customer service rep. And if it's an all-metal hose, we'll make arrangements to get it fixed by the factory. If it's a standard hose, we'll have to focus in on what is the exact problem and where is it occurring, and then how do we repair it. Most of the time on metal hoses, because of the way they're constructed, they are not easy to repair in the field.
Excellent. And for customers to stay ahead of, a 911 of, oh no, I have to replace all my hoses. How often should they be looking through their hose inventory and changing out their hoses?
Okay, good question. My years in the hose business taught me that there is no hard and fast rules on all the different guidelines for hoses. But one thing I did find is the larger companies, the Air Liquides, the Praxairs, the Air Products, the BOCs, basically at one point in time adopted a 5-year life expectancy for every hose. So every hose, whether we're talking a liquid transfer or we're talking a fill plant hose, has a life expectancy of 5 years. On the all metal hoses, the date is stamped right here on the collar. And if you don't see a date and a manufacturer's name and a pressure rating, the hose is not built to CGA standards. And all the hoses Rattermann sells are built to CGA standards.
Wonderful. And Ratterman offers the hose builder on our website, rmiorder.com, or you can go to hosebuilder.com. But that allows you to select, what type of gas you need, pressure, all of that stuff, and it'll build the correct hose for you. And we have a great team on staff that is very educated in this, in hoses, one being Patrick.
Yeah, you know what happens out in the field, and this happens a lot. You see this part of the hose right here is the armor, right? When you order a hose with all armor and it has a leak in here inside the hose, you can't tell where that leak's coming from when it has armor on. It sounds like it's leaking all over the place. but you can't pinpoint where it is. And it's these little small cracks that are very hard to see, but you hear them. And being that they're under the armor, you can't see them. So that's why I say when you get a hose like this that's leaking, it literally needs to either go back to the factory or be taken out of service.
Yeah. So they probably are stretching it and bending it beyond their bend.
They could have overbent it. If they use it a lot and they're bending it a lot, it will eventually crack.
Okay. So I also just yesterday was with a customer who the driver needed a new fill transfer hose, and he really didn't want to get the armored hose because he, as in the driver, didn't want to get the armored hose because it's a lot heavier than getting the non-armored. What would be your advice to someone that's thinking in that way?
What a lot of people don't like is when you put the armor on the hose, it makes it heavier. Mm-hmm. It makes it harder to bend, but there's a reason for that. Mm-hmm. Because people without the armor on there, without it, the hose can be bent beyond its bend radius.
Right.
I don't think there's anything wrong with the way they're using it. It's totally normal, but hoses will wear out over time.
So stay on top of your hose maintenance.
So to address his question, if they do a monthly maintenance, they might spot this before it becomes a problem.
Great insight, Patrick.
Oh, no problem at all, you guys. Anytime.
Thanks for watching. Stay up to date with the latest news in the gas and welding industry by clicking on the subscribe button.
And check out one of our other videos to learn more. Find out more about Reliably Ratterman at rmiordered.com.